How's it going, guys? So recently I've had a massive peak of interest in my mountain dragons. A lot of people have been asking me for care information, where they can buy some, and just more videos on them. So in this video we're going to be taking a close look at the Mountain Heath Dragon. So the mountain dragon, or Mountain Heath Dragon, Rankinia diemenis, is an amazing small dragon that is endemic to Australia, and it's special because it's the only agamid that is found in Tasmania. It's also the most southern ranging agamid in the world. And because of that, these guys can take some very cold temperatures. Living up in the mountains and in those alpine regions, these guys can go through a lot. So this makes them a really hardy species in captivity, and one that you can give a really cool setup for. These guys like to climb, they like to dig, they like to run around like maniacs. So as their name suggests, these guys live in the mountains. They live in elevated areas typically, as well as on rock faces and in dry sclerophyll forest. Now, they are so well at tolerating cold temperatures, they even come from the Blue Mountains, which is one of the coldest places in Australia. It can even snow there. So these little animals are very tough. So these guys range from down in Tasmania all the way up to around Gosford on the central coast, New South Wales. Because they have quite a large range, they also come in quite a few different colours. So they can be black, all sorts of shades of red, grey and brown, and even blue, which is crazy how much variation they can have. These guys are an R1 reptile, meaning they can be kept on a basic license. As soon as you get your reptile license, you can get these right off the rip. There's not many breeders of these around, which is the most unfortunate thing, but they do pop up for sale every now and then. What's great about them though is they are only about $50 each, so they're pretty cheap, and they're usually pretty nice coloured when you can come across them. So if you see some there on the market and you've got the money for them, I'd jump on them quick. So sexing these guys as adults can be pretty easy. Usually you can see the hemipenal bulges on the males. So here's my boy here, my one male. You sort of look, you can see the two bumps right there, either side of the tail. But also, just to make sure, what you can do is the illumination method. So you can get your pen torch, shine it in through the side there like that, and hopefully you'll be able to see he's got those two dark lines in the tail there. So those are his hemipenal blood vessels, and that lets you know it's a boy. Females won't have anything there at all, which I'll show you now. So here's a girl, a big fat girl at that. Wait for her to calm down. These guys don't like being held very much. And then we look through her tail, and you can't really see much of anything there. It's just clear. No two dark red lines like the boy had. So part of what makes these guys such amazing animals to have in captivity is the fact that they stay really small. So you don't need a massive enclosure for them. My enclosure is 90 long by 45 deep by 60 tall. You can see I've decked it out with the whole rock background and everything. Give them a lot of space to move around because they will use it all. They're very energetic little dragons. But yeah, you can fit a lot of them into a small space just because of how small they grow. You know, like, these are pretty much adult size and they're pretty tiny. And what's great as well, because they live in that subtropical climate, they can do well in a bioactive enclosure. So you can have lots of cleanup bugs in there running around, and it can be a nice little ecosystem with live plants and everything. So mountain dragons are pretty easy to care for. They are a sun-loving species like most Australian dragons, but where they do live, it is a little bit cooler than most other desert dragons and stuff you'll find in captivity. So for a basking spot, I normally aim for about 35 degrees up to about 40 degrees. So usually around here on this rock it's about 35, and then as you come up here it gets closer to 40. And then of course on the cool side you want to just get it as cool as you can. And they'll thermoregulate as needed. There'll be no worries. Now, being a sun-loving species, they do love a good amount of UVB. So at the moment I have mine on a 12% Arcadia UVB bulb, and that's simply because it's sitting on top of the screen. So if you don't know, screen mesh on top of enclosures, if that's between your UV light, it actually filters out some of the UVB. So that's why I'm using that. Otherwise, if it was mounted on the inside, I'd probably use a 5.0. I used to have the Shade Dweller lamp in here if you saw my video setting this up, and that worked fine, but I think it is better for them to have that higher UVA to UVB ratio. And this is of course how I set mine up. They have a nice big rock stack here that they can get up closer to the heat or further away. They obviously have their nice rock background which they use all the time. I'm so glad I made that for them. If you can, or if you can buy one or something like that, definitely recommend that for them, because that's, you know, how they live in the wild, on the rock faces. And they also like to climb quite a bit, so I have quite a few branches in here, and they usually sleep on the branches, which is quite interesting. Put in leaf litter and stuff like that. They love hiding in the leaves. And then if we come down to the enclosure floor, you can see I've got a bioactive system going in here. If you don't want to do bioactive, they can simply be kept on some sand and probably some coir peat mixed together and slightly dampened. But otherwise, I highly recommend doing the bioactive system. I've got a mix of sphagnum moss, yuki mulch, coir peat, sand, and a bit of soil. The bottom layer with a lot more yuki mulch and sphagnum moss to keep it really nice and humid down there for the cleanup crew, and then on the top it's more just sandy, so it's a bit better for the dragons. And yeah, it's pretty simple. Cover it in leaf litter. They love scratching around in the leaf litter, looking for bugs and everything. And yeah, it's quite easy. And then from there you can also add in your live plants. These are all live in here. They're doing really well. This one's actually grown a new little pup right here, which I'm pretty stoked about. I've got a fern over here. These bromeliads are probably better because they don't get trampled as easily. And for these you'll need some sort of plant light. I've got this big LED light up here. It's basically like a hydroponics light. And yeah, as long as it's 6,500 Kelvin or close to that and puts out some good light, you should get some good plant growth. So regardless if you're keeping it bioactive or not, I like to water the soil every few days. Not totally drench it all, maybe keep some spots dry, but give it a little bit of moisture in there so they can have some good digging and a bit of humidity if they need it. Because these guys aren't a full desert species. Like I said, they're subtropical. They live in sort of dry forests and whatnot, so they enjoy a little bit more humidity. So then it comes to feeding. These guys are primarily insectivores. So they love their insects. I like to feed mine mainly wood roaches, crickets, etc. You can see they go crazy for it. They love moths and other little flying bugs. They're really good at hunting them. They jump right through the air and it's super fun to watch. And yeah, they will eat a little bit of vegetable matter. I've given these guys some shredded carrot and leafy greens before, but it's not really their favourite. They prefer the insects much more. So I just supplement every now and then with a bit of vegetation, but mostly for these guys, it's going to be the insects. Let's see if these cute little babies want some food. They go crazy for little roaches. Yeah, come on. Boom. Yeah, they're adorable as babies. The tiniest little lizards around. And I think in the wild as babies they probably mostly feed on ants and other small little beetles and stuff. So this is how I have my babies set up. It's a simple sort of tub. It's got UVB over the top and a heat light. I have them in the tub because it's easy to clean and maintain. Got some leaf litter there for them to hide in. I'm keeping them just on the paper towel at the moment just because I had problems with substrate getting in the eyes of the little babies and stuff and sticking to them. And when they're so small like that, it's a bit difficult for them. So keeping it simple like this, and I can really manage how they're doing. And yeah, they seem to be going great. So the same conditions as the parents really, they're just not on a bioactive substrate. They've got the same hotspot, UVB, everything, same diet. So yeah, just mini versions of the parents. So breeding mountain dragons is where there's not much information at all. I've only been able to find 1 or 2 sources that actually say what temperature you should incubate the eggs at. And from what it said in those, it's been between 17 degrees and 24 degrees, I believe. I incubated mine at around 20 degrees, 19 or 20 degrees, and I did not have that much success. That could be because temperatures are wrong, or maybe because of the way I set the eggs up. I'm not sure. I'm going to keep trying next season. We'll see how we go, but I'm going to try lower temperatures and a different way of setting the eggs up. So I'll show you guys the whole process when it comes to that. But yeah, still managed to get a few out this season. So there's a bit of a rundown on the Mountain Heath Dragon, Rankinia diemenis. They're an amazing captive dragon species. One of my favourites I have here. So fun, so energetic, and so pretty. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe for more Australian reptiles, and me and the dragons will see you next time. whenever you're out herping, you catch something, always make sure you try and put it back where you found it.
Here you go, little buddy.